Hello and welcome back to another review with me, Kevin, from Kevin Grant on Whisky. This week, I've gone again for another kind of Versus challenge. What do I like better? Similar makeup, similar region as well. I'll put these down first and we'll show you the bottles. So what we have is we've got Laphroaig, big hitting, one of the best selling Islay whiskies in the world, from being from Tory. And we've got Port Charlotte, which is from the Bruichladdich distillery, which is their heavily peated range of the four distillates that they produce there. The cask makeup, the only difference I can really notice in the cask makeup about is the Port Charlotte has a finish, 25% finish in X wine cask, which has got that slightly different note to it. The ABV in the Port Charlotte we have is 50% ABV. None of Laphroaig, we've got 48%, both non-chill filtered and natural colour, I do believe. I definitely know the Port Charlotte's non-chill filtered natural colour, and I do think that the yes, it's only been barrier filtered, so you still see some things there. It doesn't say about the colour. There might be a little bit, I think there is a little bit of colour in Laphroaig just for the fact of how big they are and to keep it consistent. So two heavy hitting peaty whiskies. I know peat isn't for everyone, but this is a gateway which got me into whiskey, and are two whiskies that I enjoy. If you look at Laphroaig, I've actually got maybe a dram left in that. My only downside about the Port Charlotte is you can't really see into the glass, but I do have about a quarter bottle left of this. So these are the two that are up against each other. We'll dive into a little bit more history. So on the right, we'll keep it close to the bottle. Here is the Port Charlotte, and here is Laphroaig. ABV is similar, 2% of a difference in ABV in favour of the Port Charlotte. The Port Charlotte has an age statement on it. Laphroaig doesn't, but I believe the Laphroaig to be around 7 to 8 years old. So again, they're not too far apart from being similar. Laphroaig produces about 3.3 million litres a year of pure alcohol, and I think Bruichladdich maybe 2 million. But Bruichladdich, if you look back at their history of how much they've mothballed and came back and closed and came back and had all these tribulations, and how old Laphroaig is from 1815. So I like them both. Two peaty whiskies. Let's nose them. Let's try them side by side and see what today is. The choice that I would choose. There's a huge place in my heart for Bruichladdich as a distillery and what I like about them. And Laphroaig was one of these whiskies that I struggled with for a while until I started to get to know, and I went to the distillery a few years back, and I kind of went in and I wasn't rude. It was just at the bar, and the guy's like, "Can I get you a dram?" And I thought, oh, do you know what? I do struggle with Laphroaig. It's slightly different for me. And he gave me a couple, and he really educated me on why Laphroaig is slightly different. And from there, I've really took a shine to it and an understanding of why I maybe struggled at the start. But my palate has definitely came on leaps and bounds, I think, to understand it more. So we'll go first. Nose them side by side. So it's my Laphroaig. This is my Bruichladdich. So side by side. So I would say the Laphroaig has a stronger, more pungent note to it, as in a lot more lively. You can get more of the peat on the nose from this, that kind of iodine note as well, which I always get from Laphroaig. Everyone said about a hospital smell, which I do agree with, kind of band-aids and things like that. And I think it's because the peat is still slightly damp when they burn their peat to go through the barley. With the Port Charlotte, I find it's a little bit sweeter on the nose. The peat is kind of hidden behind. I think they're both around 40 ppm, so that's a phenols per million, or peat per million. So 40 parts of peat in here. I've got a kind of woody note with this as well. It's a slightly sweet wood. But the peat there, the iodine, maybe a little bit of banana. So the quarter cask is a refill, I think, or ex-bourbon cask, which has started its life, and then from there it has been moved into a smaller quarter cask. So quarter casks are quite small. Just think of a quarter cask size of a standard bourbon barrel. There's more influence with the wood that way. It's connecting more with the wood and giving it more flavour. So let's try this first then. Let's go with the Laphroaig. Slán. There's that dry, burnt peat, hay, grass, banana stain there. It dries off, and I think that's maybe that kind of influence with the wood that's hitting there. It's a weird kind of, I don't know if it's maybe at the end of the bottle, there's like a weird, something new, like kind of flavour came through there. Long in the palate, very good mouthfeel, stays there. You know you've had a Laphroaig. When you have a sample, if you get given it blind, you think, you take a shot in the dark and think, that's a Laphroaig. I think Laphroaig has its own character to Islay compared to everyone else. I think it stands out when I nose Laphroaig. It's just got a different nose to it. Move on to the Port Charlotte 10-year-old, which was, I think it was first fill bourbon, refill bourbon, and then a finish in, there's been wine cask in there, 25% of the makeup. So it's not much, it is quite similar to Laphroaig. The only difference is a little bit of wine maturation in there, and we know the age. 50% ABV. From what Port Charlotte do, Bruichladdich range is always 50% or above, unless it's a cask strength. You get a black heart, for instance. I think I had a black heart before and it was in the 40s, and that's just the natural stuff, but they'll always keep it 50 and above, non-chill filtered, natural colour, traceability, terroir. They're not scared to let you know where everything's came from. So on the nose, it tastes a bit creamier, a little bit sweeter. The peat isn't side by side. I would maybe suggest that the Port Charlotte doesn't have peat in it, just from how potent the Laphroaig is and how that over kind of powers beside. If I smelt these side by side and I was asked, find the one with the peat, maybe a trick question, I would be saying this one because I don't really get it just now, but I know on the palate I will. Again, Port Charlotte, very typical for me. Bruichladdich alone is a kind of sandy, sweet beach, coastal sweet notes, which I'm getting. But I don't really get peat from it. It's soft. It's a quiet nose to it. But then this firework display goes off when we try. So let's try this. The peat is there. It's a sweeter peat. I would say it's softer. It's a cleaner, like ice and sugar to the end of the palate. That little bit of smoke there, but nothing is comparison to a heavily peated. This, even though this says on the bottle heavily peated, it's still 40 ppm, but it's been hidden in it, and I think potentially to do with the age, maybe that little difference in cask makeup. The quarter cask, as we say, has been a more aggressive influence with the wood, and I think that's where we're getting at that traditional Laphroaig nose and palate. We'll try the Port Charlotte again. I'll go straight back to Laphroaig. It's a nice sipper. The Port Charlotte 50% ABV would have me fooled. It does have that very soft, maybe I would say it was less than, I would say about 43. You know, that's what it tastes like on the palate, but it's 50. So it's hidden very well with just how good the quality of the new make is and how good the cask process has been with it. Laphroaig, just that iodine peat, soft seaweed, a bit of banana in there. That grassy hay peat is prominent in the Laphroaig flavour, I would say. comes near the end, the kind of smokiness, the peat stays there. When you go down, you can feel it. It's as if it just kind of clings on and it's there. If you like that deep peat, if you like big peaty flavours, I picked this up, I'm sure, maybe last year, 2 years ago. Might have a wee date on it somewhere from when it was bought. It was going to be around about that time. I'll say maybe 2 years ago, and I picked this up in Costco in the UK at the time, and I think I paid £20 and a little bit of change, maybe £21 max for this. Very easily obtainable. Usually most supermarkets and big chains will have Laphroaig quarter cask. It's kind of part of the bread and butter. Easy to get. Price wise, you can usually find at a good price. Always less than £30, I would say. You'll find it, or 30 max. Look at the Port Charlotte 10. You can find it in most places, I think, because I can't remember the makeup of non-peated spirit, peated spirit and heavily peated spirit that Bruichladdich put out. I think it's more Bruichladdich. It's harder to get. Price wise though, you're paying less than £50, £50 maybe max on this, but we've got an age statement, we've got terroir. You can go online and it tells you everything about it. You can ask kind of Bruichladdich questions and they'll tell you things, where the barleys came from, where water source came from, it's Loch-and-Dal, where casks have come from, and all these things are very transparent. Laphroaig, for being Suntory, everything's kind of hidden, lock and key. You won't get too much if you ask those type of questions, I imagine. Both bottles I will replace. This one very, very shortly because, yeah, I've got a dram left in that. I'm going to go back for another sip of both. I'm going to make my decision on what I've liked best today and what I would go back for. It is difficult. It's things that you should try at home. I think trying similar whiskies, the close cask makeup. These are from the same island. These are from Islay. I would say personally the most famous whiskey region in Scotland. I think Islay's kind of the most people know about. Yes, I know Speyside, but it's just, this is where it detaches itself from the mainland. It's like, we are Peat, we are this, we are that, we are our own region, and this is what we do. We have big, heavy, bold whiskies, and I think every distillery on that island does. Just a couple that I've not tried yet, and I've been lucky enough to try Port Ellen, and then Ardnahoe is still one I've not tried, but the new make would be good. I like trying new make. I like to see the kind of raw processing distilleries. When I do go, it's something I always ask for in a distillery. Can I try your new make? And some of the best new make I have ever tried is Lagavulin. That's been sensational. So you kind of know the product that's going to come from it, and you know the wood is going to be the big thing in the end. So let's try another wee sip of both, and then let's make a decision on what is going to be my favourite today. It's weird that having that Port Charlotte there, finishing and then going straight on to the Laphroaig. Laphroaig had a really sweeter note to it there, a really nice peat. That felt very well rounded, just going in that order. I do like them both. They're not. It's not as if I choose one and I'll never drink another again. Both will be getting replaced. I like them both. I think these are my kind of sit on the shelf and always get. Today's palate and how it felt and how both have reacted today, I would choose my favourite today as being the Laphroaig. That's just everything I think Islay can be. I think as an introduction to Islay, maybe not scaring people away. Obviously Lagavulin 16 is great. That's the kind of a benchmark for a lot of people. But the Port Charlotte 10 has that nice sweetness to it, an easier peat to go for. And Laphroaig's forefront, we are Peat, this is what we do, and this is what we've done for hundreds of years. So today's winner, get my this out of the camera shot and try not to spill it. It's ideal. Is going to be the Laphroaig quarter cask, and as I say, I've got 1 wee dram left. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks or days, that shelf you might see a full one in there, but this will be getting replaced. I've enjoyed it, and I'll enjoy it again. Just before I go, I would like to leave a little. If you've not heard of it yet, I'm pretty sure you have. There's bigger channels than me out there that will probably promote it as well as the OSWA, the Online Scottish Whisky Awards. You can go over to the Instagram page or Twitter and click on their link, and you can vote for whiskies that have been chosen by YouTube channels, by independent shops, and it is more for the people and what this kind of community, the online community, drink and what they like. It's can be anonymous. You can pick your choices, and then I think the nominations will all be in, and the winners are chosen live on early, maybe the 5th of November, 16th of November, something around there. But if you go on to the Online Scottish Whisky Awards, you'll be able to see that. I can tell just now these guys aren't in it, well, especially these 2 bottles are not in it, but you'll be able to see and make your own choices on best new distilleries, best blend, best age statement, all these things. They cover all the bases, so you can do that. It takes about 3 minutes to do, to sign up and get through it, and then you can tune in on the day with Ralphie and Aquavite and friends to promote these winners and who wins on the day. So it's us that choose, and we get to see it. So make sure you do that. Go over to Online Scottish Whisky Awards on Instagram or online on .com, I think it is, and you'll be able to choose them from there. I'm going to go and sit back. I've got 2 drams here. I'm double parked, as we say. I think we say it in America and other places in Scotland as well. If you're double parked, you've got 2 drinks. So I better finish these, clean up. I've got a tasting tonight where I will be along and trying a 31-year-old Rosebank. I've been invited along to one of these, so I'm looking forward to that. So I better go and get myself scrubbed up and not kicking about like this. But as always, if you like the content, make sure you sign up, subscribe, leave me some comments, see if you would choose the same, let me know what your 2 choices would be. And I'm going to go and get ready. But as always, I've been Kevin from Kevin Out on Whisky. Join me next week. Let's talk whisky. Slange.